This is Teachable Moments with April podcast, and you guessed it, I'm your host, April. If you're a returning listener and a part of the Teachable Moments with April podcast family, welcome back. For those of you who are checking me out for the first time, well, hello and welcome. To everyone listening, look for the teachable moments that are all around you. Enjoy. This is your host, April of Teachable Moments with April podcast. So in this particular episode, we're going to talk about something that recently resurfaced on the news about Chicago and the water, and it's linked to lead contaminated water. Now, it says, based on CBSnews.com, that the study finds that 129,000 Chicago children under the age of 6 have been exposed to lead contaminated water. So I'm thinking, when they said about the kids, automatically I didn't just think about the kids. I thought about anyone who consumes the water, anyone that's bathing in the water. It has lead in it. Okay, now I realize that children, their bodies are still developing, they're still growing, and it leaves them vulnerable. But I'm thinking, if there's lead in the water, it's affecting everyone. Maybe it's just me. I'm just saying. So anyway, and this is a study that was done. Oh God. Let's find out. Let's just, the things. Okay, so it says a disturbing study finds 2/3 of children under the age of 6 are estimated to have been exposed to this lead through their drinking water. The study also found that predominantly, now this doesn't surprise me, but maybe for some people it may be surprising. I would think not. That predominantly Black and Latino populations were disproportionately less likely to be tested for lead, but also disproportionately exposed, to contaminated drinking water. Now, the study published in the Journal of JAMA Pediatrics found that 68% of children 6 and under in Chicago, which this is what it equates to 129,000, the number, have been exposed to this lead contaminated drinking water. They also found that 19% of those children use unfiltered tap water as their primary source of drinking water. Now, investigators used a retrospective assessment of lead exposure based on 38,385 household lead tests collected from January 2016 until September of last year. Now the information was publicly available from the Department of Water Management records. The study said machine learning and microsimulation were used to estimate the childhood lead exposure citywide. Now the study defined water to be contaminated if most of the tests within a census block had 1 part per billion or more lead concentration on the second draw. This value was chosen, because no amount of lead in drinking water at all is considered safe. So let me pause there. I got to read it again for myself. This value was chosen because no amount of lead in drinking water is considered safe, and because 1 ppb is the limit for detection in lead water tests. Now there was an individual, I saw the original broadcast or enough of it, in which there was an expert saying that there really wasn't anything. The vibe he gave was that there really wasn't anything to worry about, because it wasn't like Flint, Michigan. That's how the vibe That's what he was giving, okay? That it wasn't Flint, Michigan. But here it says something entirely different. Okay, so let's see. Let's go on. The study warned that increased blood lead levels in children, if everyone is drinking and bathing in this water, it's everyone, can cause cognitive development deficits and other health hazards. The impact of low-level, long-term exposure, preach, to lead-contaminated drinking water may not be easily identifiable at the individual level. The study said instead it could cause population-level increases in adverse health outcomes, such as lower population-level mean IQ or increased preterm births, underscoring the need for reduced exposure to lead-contaminated drinking water. Now, the study also concluded that Black and Latino households disproportionately drink bottled water, while white households disproportionately drink tap water. However, the study emphasized that bottled water is not necessarily less contaminated with lead than tap water. Okay, let me read that again. However, the study emphasized that bottled water is not necessarily less contaminated with lead than tap water. So what you saying? As the U.S. Food and Drug Administration sets the lower limit for lead in bottled water at 5 ppb. Now, to me, this right here is not exactly new because they spilled the beans some years ago that not necessarily bottled water is actually all that it's cracked up to be. So what are we really saying here? So the study also found that using filtered tap water doesn't necessarily prevent lead exposure either. Okay, back up. Okay, so now you got the tap water. Then you're saying the bottled water doesn't necessarily mean that it's safe. It has less contaminated. Let me use their terminology. Their words, less contaminated. Now you're even saying that a study also found that using filtered tap water doesn't necessarily prevent lead exposure either. So what are we really talking about? So the racial and ethnic disparities present are indicative of the myriad ways environmental racism can manifest. I'm not saying it. They're saying it right here in this article. All right now. Lower screening rates, lower consumption of tap water, and higher levels of lead exposure among predominantly Black and Hispanic blocks may indicate mistrust toward water sources or lack of community engagement from relevant authorities. The study said that. The study, not me, the study. Neighborhoods with high risk estimates as well as low screening rates were largely clustered in the south and west sides of Chicago, corresponding to the city's geographic history of segregation and disinvestment. Talk to me. All right, so they have an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health as the study's lead author. He re-emphasized that no amount of lead in water is safe. Warning, warning, warning. He re-emphasized that no, N-O spells no amount of lead in water is safe. The goal is to have zero lead in water at all. And we know from the science that even small amounts of lead in the water can impact a child. However, he also noted that the study's findings should not draw comparisons to high-profile water crises of relatively recent years. And he also mentions this young man. Now, when he was on there, this is the same young man. I see his picture now. It's not as bad as the Flint crisis. Your child's not going to be hospitalized from the levels of lead that you're seeing and that we're seeing. But yeah, I think there's some concern because even these low levels of lead, low levels, are things that can affect your child without you noticing. In addition, exposure to lead-based paint dust, remains the overwhelming source of elevated blood levels in children in Chicago. This is why the Chicago Department of Public Health has invested in robust lead-based paint and dust inspection and mitigation, especially in communities most impacted. Now, in a statement, the Chicago Department of Water Management has said it took issue with the study's sampling, saying it only indicated whether or not there is a lead service line, not routine exposure. The city also said oh God, I'm getting my words. Okay. The city also said lead testing shows the water meets the standards. I gotta take a moment here, okay, because when people talk down to me, I don't like it. The standards of the U.S. Environmental Protection Program, the EPA. So they say the city's saying everything's copacetic, that it meets the standards. How many times have we heard this, that it meets the standards? Whose standards is it? You're not drinking the water, but it meets the standards. Chicago has 3,800,000 lead service lines. City officials estimate that replacing all of them will cost up to I'm so sick of these people, $9 billion. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. On Tuesday, the Department of Water Management reiterated that it has introduced 5 programs. I don't want to hear about no more programs to remove the city's lead service lines and offers its residents free water testing. Yeah. I don't want to hear about it. This past November, the Biden administration, no, I don't want to hear about him either, announced $336 million low interest loan for Chicago through the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act to replace up to 30,000 lead pipes. I am so sick of these people with these programs. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of them. Okay, nothing ever seems to get done, but it's all of these programs that they put together, and then people are still suffering, and you just keep talking and talking and talking. You need to stop talking, and you need to start doing the right thing. But I know that that's not what's going to happen, because it is not going to happen. Okay, so this particular article ends with Elizabeth Chen of the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and Matthew Kang of the Stanford University School of Medicine also authored this particular study. So there are the other people that were contributing to it, so they're just letting us know. So yeah, I saw something about the lead, and I'm not entirely surprised. But the fact that in the news it also said, that particular broadcast, about something about they had been watching this for 7 years. I believe the number is higher, but the fact that they admitted that 7 years they've been sitting back and lead has been just seeping into the water supply, and you sat back for 7 full years. Wow. But they issued a statement and said it's totally okay underneath the EPA standards. So why are we seeing it on the news then? You were just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. We invite you to stay connected with us on our other social media platforms: TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and now Rumble. You can also leave us feedback in 3 ways: in the Interact features section on the Spotify app, voice messages to the podcast through our customized link, or at teachablemomentswithapril@gmail.com.